everybody, we're back. You're watching the GMH podcast, or possibly listening to the GMH podcast. We're here with Ken Christopher, Executive Vice President of Christopher Ranch, the global leader in garlic production. I'll keep saying that because it is pretty amazing. Right here from Gilroy. Who knew, right?
Right.
1979, first Gilroy Garlic Festival.
Yes, it was.
Were you yet?
I was not
Here?
born yet, no. But my grandfather and my grandmother were at the forefront of making sure that was a success.
Yeah.
And you talk to the two of them, and the stories they have are just incredible.
Yeah.
In fact, the first Gilroy Garlic Festival was just across the street from Christopher Ranch. And it was such a success that they ran out of tickets. They only printed 5,000. And when 15,000 people showed up, they had to start recycling the tickets. They had to send people over to Monterey to get more calamari, to get more everything. And it was a bit of a crazy time, but everyone loved every minute of it.
Yeah, yeah. So we were talking about a tripod earlier, off camera, and when you think about the tripod, the three legs of the origins of the Garlic Festival.
Our community, right.
But just of the Garlic Festival, of it starting, your grandfather, Don Christopher, Rudy Malone.
Yep, and
Val Felice, yeah. Just three pillars in
Three
the community.
legends, yes.
Three legends, absolutely. And now, with your grandfather being the only remaining, how important is it, and we did talk about this a little bit, but how important is it to keep garlic in the forefront, not just as the global leader commercially, but in the community?
It's critical. The legacy of my grandfather it can be hard to talk about because it can get emotional once in a while, but it's critical to me to keep that going. Yeah. And so for the last few years, I've given every iota of energy and focus to make sure that the Garlic Festival will be a success, because I want to honor him. I want to make sure that, he's in his late 80s now. When he turns up and he gets to the Garlic Festival, he sees an event that is really respecting our past, our heritage, respecting garlic, respecting the Christopher family. It's been my pride and my honor to do that. And, the events of 2019, the shooting, had a disproportionate effect, and I don't mean to discount anyone else's experience, but because it was a part of our legacy, hit my family particularly hard. And it took us a long time to get to a place to where we could recover and start to talk about it, because what my grandfather did was create the nation's greatest family food festival. I mean, from nothing.
Yes.
And for 40 plus years, it's been the annual homecoming for our entire town.
Right.
No matter where you go in life, no matter where you end up, everyone comes home for the Gilroy Garlic Festival.
Absolutely.
And you talk to people you meet in life across the country, they never really understand. If you're from Gilroy, you get it.
Yes.
If you're not from here, it may be a little confusing. But as a Gilroyan, it's always been an essential part of my life, an essential part of my experience. And so in trying to honor him, we've been using all the resources we can to keep it going.
Yeah, yeah. Now, we talked about, 19 and what the community went through, now, as the Garlic Association also had to deal with the aftermath of the incident. It was a very challenging time for our entire community, or anybody connected to our community. I'm sure you got calls from all around the world, people inquiring how you guys were doing and if you were safe. And I know in our little world, in our network, we had people calling from all over the place going, we heard about this thing, and are you guys is everybody safe? I mean, it's like when you hear of an earthquake in LA, you think all of LA is gone, because you don't have the perspective of being in the community. But being in the community and going through that and being so closely tied to the Garlic Fest, you shared that it took you guys a long time to maybe find your path, find your position.
Process the grief, process everything, right?
Grief. But you guys have managed to come out in 2020, and you have this new thing beyond the books, but you have the Summer of Garlic.
Right. So recently, we had a great meeting with Gilroy Gardens, and they're interested in becoming even more integrated with the larger community. A lot of their attendees come from San Jose, more Silicon Valley. We want to bring it more home. We want to make it more Gilroy-centric. And so one meeting we had was talking about what could a summer food festival centered at Gilroy Gardens look like. And that's where we had the ideation of the Summer of Garlic. So we can bring Garlic Festival style food to there, that we could bring celebrity chefs, we could bring, the Giadas and the Tom Colicchios and, everyone that believes in our mission and our hometown and our product to entertain the crowds, to kind of bring back that spirit of what summers and garlic in Gilroy used to look like.
Yeah. And now you mentioned about bringing it home, more of the hometown feel out there, but also that opens it up to an entire new audience. I would think of more of the traveler who's prone to go out to Gilroy Gardens. Mm-hmm. How do you juxtapose the two, or how do you strike that perfect chord?
I think there's a way of marrying the two.
I believe so.
Of maintaining that local tradition and then bringing in people that are just being exposed to our hometown's love of all things garlic.
Yeah.
And the thing about Gilroy Gardens is it's a beautiful space. It's a secure space. Ample parking. They can handle thousands of people. It's the perfect environment for us to launch something new.
Yeah, I love it. And as you do that, bringing the legacy forward, taking it to a new level, much like how we were discussing being third generation leader of the company, you may be standing on the giants of all this heritage and all the good things that people have done before, but it's your responsibility and your role, and thank you because you take it very seriously, that now it's time to look beyond and go forward and see what else can happen.
What's next?
Love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So where does that come from?
I think I was just raised by really, really good parents. I think I was raised by a really great grandfather that always believed in me, that poured everything into me, that gave me every single opportunity. And from that, I see a certain responsibility to push forward to the future. That it's my obligation, my duty, and my pride to continue to push my family's legacy into the future.
I love it. So when it comes to leadership and leadership styles, how would you describe your leadership style?
Authoritarian.
No. These guys would agree, right?
No,
They're sitting there going,
I'm not a big fan of consensus style decision making. I am very much in the realm of have the best people in the room and let the smartest guy run with it. And if that happens to be me because I did the homework, I did the research, and I believe with all my will and all my gut that it's the right call, we're going to go with that. Mm-hmm. But I also do respect people that check me from time to time. One of my best friends is our what's your title now? One of my best friends.
He's the guy that shuts me down
one
sometimes.
One of my best friends is one of my operations managers, and he came on board about 3 years ago. And what's been nice about that is we have the confidence and the maturity within our working relationship to push back on each other. If I make a call and he knows it's wrong, he knows to pull me aside privately and check me. And then I can go back out publicly and make the correction. And so that's the kind of resource I didn't used to have in the past. And so it's nice to have that stopgap. But yeah, I would say that one of the joys of being a family-controlled company is that we don't report to anyone. We don't have a faceless board of people who don't understand our mission. We can make the right call every single time as long as we believe it.
Right. So two things strike me with what you just said. Number one, the style of leadership to be able to go toe-to-toe, face-to-face, however you want to say it, with somebody who you respect, somebody who's earned your trust, and vice versa. And to be able to listen to that, that's a unique trait. Not a lot of people can do that, especially people with the amount of leadership responsibilities that you have. So, I mean, I commend you for that. We're just getting to know each other here. But
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I see. I appreciate that. I can be very decisive, but as long as I'm working with people that I can respect and I can trust, whether it's my father, whether it's one of my best friends, and everything is done tastefully and behind closed doors when it comes to, checking in or disagreeing or whatever that might look like, then I'm right as rain.
And that's a great sign of leadership in general is you praise in public, reprimand in private.
Exactly.
And not that you're being reprimanded,
that's
but
exactly
you're having the conversations.
And that's exactly my relationship with my father as well. That in public, if we're in a major manager's meeting, or if we're at an event, we're always lockstep. And if one of us errs, you hold your tongue and you have a conversation behind closed doors. And you do it respectfully and you do it tastefully, and then we both move forward.
And then you move forward, yeah. I love it. So 11 years, you were 25. When
I was just a pup.
When you came in, just a pup. Speaking of decisions, You probably learned a few lessons along the way, right?
I definitely have, yes.
So share some of those early lessons and what you learned.
So, God, the hardest thing I think I've learned is how to really go with your gut. That there are going to be a lot of opinions out there. There's a lot of voices, and they may have been in the business for decades. But if you honestly disagree and you've done the work and you've done the research, go with your gut. Don't necessarily let outside voices influence the calls you're making.
Yeah.
Because they could have huge impacts.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's your family business, it's your family legacy. So it's got to be your call, like you had mentioned earlier.
Yeah. It's going to be my failure or my success.
Right.
No one else's. And the buck stops here, and if I'm wrong, and I'll take the hit. If I'm right, and I'll high five all around.
So because we talk about leadership a lot on our podcast, biggest lessons learned from a failure that you can share, and then biggest win from something you just got right, which I would think, the books and
So I have the win.
Okay.
This is one I'm really, really proud of. So one of our biggest accounts is a major club store. Think of Sam's Club or Costco, in that vein. I'm not going to give all the details, but there was a conversation I had 2 years ago with their senior buyer, and it was tough. And we were negotiating about pricing, and they were feeding me information, saying our competition is offering them X, Y, and Z. Right. And I'd done enough research to where I knew that they were BSing me.
Yeah.
They didn't know what they were doing. And I pushed back. I pushed back hard. It was a giant gamble, and we got it. And it was a multi-year deal.
Nice.
And
well done.
Yeah, that led to our ability to invest and increase infrastructure within the ranch. So today we have the nation's largest fresh garlic production plant, where we can run over 1 million pounds of fresh garlic through it. And that's largely due to the success of that one conversation, that one negotiation.
Wow.
That has all these echoing effects.
Huge.
Negative? Hardest thing probably relates to a 2018 documentary that came out on Netflix called Rotten, Episode 3, Garlic Breath. Check it out. They portrayed us as using Chinese prison labor to produce all of our peeled garlic. There's no truth behind it. We couldn't be in operation today if that was true. At the time, Netflix asked us to participate in the documentary. But before they asked us to participate, the producers explained it as being a David and Goliath story. Us being the Goliath and the prisoners being David's. So we knew that no matter what we did on the cutting room floor, we would have gotten massacred.
Yes.
So we declined to comment. And today, 3 years later, I still get emails, I still get calls, I still get questions about why we declined to comment, and that makes us guilty, and the whole, the whole way it plays out. And so today I regret not preparing myself, going on camera, and making a defense for my family.
Yeah. We talk about lessons learned, and it's always easy to look back and say, oh, gee, had I, but
what if?
Yeah, what if? But at the time, though, to the general public, it came out of the blue, and it's just like, wait, what?
Oh, yeah.
And
when 15 million people casually hear that you're a monster.
Yes.
But even today, I got a phone call just a few weeks ago. It was an older woman, very irate about what she saw. And I took the call, and I was chatting with her, and she was going on about how she was watching CNN, and she couldn't believe the things she heard about us on CNN. And I had to stop her, and I had to ask, I'm sorry, which program on CNN, what journalist? And she said, well, I don't know. And I had to remind her, it's like, are you sure you weren't watching a Netflix docuseries?
Was it
well,
just
maybe I was.
Was it a big N on the screen? Yeah.
Exactly. So she was even confused about what was news and what was entertainment.
Sure.
I just got an email the other day. I just saw a 60 Minutes report where you were accused of X, Y, and Z. And it's like, no, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
That didn't
No, you
happen.
didn't.
You're talking about a 200018 streaming docuseries
Yeah.
that was based on garbage. So, yeah, have a great day. Like, what can you do?
Well, you know what? Despite you not commenting at the time or thinking that it was better not to, just from being in the community, we've been here all our life, which is twice yours. We know and appreciate the work that you guys have done as a family for generations, from the early days to now, and we're super excited to see the amazing things that you guys are doing under your leadership, if that's fair to say.
Yeah.
I just, the books, the giveaway, the readings, the building of community through Summer of Garlic and Garlic Reimagined. It's just amazing. How does it feel to be you mentioned about being in the rooms with smart people, coming up with these ideas. How much energy goes through you when you're coming up with all these creative things?
There's plenty of Kenergy, that's for sure.
Kenergy. We named it Kenergy. There you go.
Hashtag.
You heard it here. Yeah. Hashtag Kenergy.
No, it's something that my grandfather really inspired me about. When I first joined the company, he got really energetic about wanting to give back to schools and give back to kids.
Yeah.
And so he kind of had me, his lieutenant, kind of running the show for him on that front.
Nice.
And so whether it was building the Don Christopher Sports Complex, whether it was Christopher High School, whether it was salad bars in South Valley Middle School, whether it's donations of books, uniforms, like whatever it took, making sure that our kids in our hometown wanted for nothing.
Yeah.
He really inspired that in me. And there's one line he taught me, one lesson, that's do the right thing every single time, no matter the cost. So if you believe that you're on the right course, keep going. People are going to push back on you. People are going to eject.
Right.
Let it go.
Right.
Do what's right.
That's impressive.
He's a big man. I mean, that's big shoes to fill.
Yes.
I mean, he's a giant.
There are. But you know what? I know that your grandpa is proud of you.
Yeah.
I know he is.
Well, there was a moment just this summer. I got to do the commencement speech at Christopher High. And so it was the first time these kids have seen each other in like a year and change. Yeah. And I got to go on stage and see 2,000 people. And in the middle of my speech, I got to look out and see my grandfather at 87 years old sitting there, smiling back at me. It was a moment to where I saw this giant of a man sitting literally inside his legacy at Christopher High within the sports complex, looking back at me as the future, trying to deliver the best speech I possibly can to inspire these kids.
Yeah.
And it was one of those moments you never forget. Wow. Like for the rest of my life, I will always have that.
Yeah.
And it's because of him.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. I love how you just explained that you kind of, what's the word? You earned your chops under his tutelage when it came to the community. His intentionality about giving back to the community. And you mentioned just a few of the things that you guys do. I am certain there's things that have been done that nobody ever knows about because you guys are, philanthropy minded and have so much care for the community. Let's talk a little bit more about the foundation.
Yeah.
Just launched in, was it 2020? Okay. Tell us about it.
So it's very exciting. Traditionally, we have worked with the Gilroy Foundation, but we wanted to have a little more flexibility with kind of our aims and our objectives. And so I launched the Christopher Foundation in 2020 with the sole purpose of education and food scarcity. And so we partner with not only Gilroy Unified School District, but also organizations like St. Joseph's, who have this amazing program every single, I think it's one Monday a month, called Push Produce, where they're giving back fresh produce into the community. And so before COVID, unfortunately now it's a little more complicated, but my team and I, we would go out every single time and physically be in there in the community giving out produce. So it's more than just a check being given, it's all about engaging with the community. Community Solutions. They do an incredible toy drive every year for Christmas. Yes. We make sure that we're front and center. Rebecca Children's Services, they have the Culinary Academy that finds at-risk youth and gives them critical and essential skills to build lives for themselves.
Yes, great program.
We're so proud to have partnered with them as well, giving them new equipment, having them be the premier partner for all of our events. Yes. Whether it's weddings within the family, whether it's a corporate event, we want to make sure that they're front and center because they're doing the good work for our community. Right. I mentioned salad bars, just anywhere we can to make a difference, we want to try.
That's amazing. And then the best way for anybody to find out more about your foundation would be how?
So right now it's going to be going through ChristopherRanch.com and you can go to, I believe it's community, there's a link there called community and you can see all of our partners. Okay. But we are developing GilroyStrong.com.
Okay.
After the attack in 2019, one of the first things I made sure to do was to secure the website and secure the social media names and then trademark it because I wanted to make sure it was respected and taken care of because that's a message that resounds within our community.
Yes.
I wanted to make sure that it was protected.
Right.
And so through GilroyStrong.com, we're going to continue to flesh out the Christopher Foundation and do more and more and more within our community.
I love it. I love it. And education and food scarcity.
Yep.
I love it. So tell me, what else do we need to know about King Christopher?
What else do you know about King
The
Christopher?
loaded question. Here you go.
Yeah, I think in general, I'm the kind of person that just was raised by a fantastic grandfather, a fantastic father, a great mother, and I feel it's my mission to do what I can to make an impact for the good. So, when we talk about like my future goals, while as much as I love working in the corporate space, that's probably not necessarily my end game. My end game is probably stepping into politics and making as much good as I can in the political public sphere in that end. So let's flash forward 20 years. You could be looking at the next governor of California, senator, dare I say president?
Can I dare say that you might have just heard it here first, maybe? Or have you promoted this elsewhere?
No, it's my first time talking about it.
Okay, you got the exclusive right here.
No, but like I want to do good through my family's business
Yeah.
for at least another 2 decades.
Yeah.
Making much of an impact as I can. Yeah. And then with the lessons that I have learned and will continue to learn, advance. And keep, just like my grandfather said, do the right thing every single time, no matter what.
Yeah, and as you do that, you keep expanding your, not just your network, but your sphere of influence, right? So
Right.
the natural progression is, of course, public service on a governmental level.
Yeah, and I'm close with our Congressman Jimmy Panetta. He's a great guy.
Agriculture family as well, right?
Agriculture family, yeah. His dad Leon is a titan. He's a giant in
Yes.
Washington, D.C.
Yes.
Such a sweet family.
Yeah.
And I have a particular loyalty, not loyalty might be the wrong word, but a particular affinity to them because the day of the shooting in 2019, I was actually with Congressman Panetta and his daughter touring the Garlic Festival. So I was showing them around, going on stage, they're waving to the crowds, having the best time. And luckily they got out of there about an hour before everything happened. But I remember that night, my dad has horrible cell phone service where he lives. And so I've been trying to get through to him, I couldn't. And then next thing I know, the congressman called me and he stayed with me on the line for a while.
Wow.
Like just really helping me realize the gravity of what was going on, what's next, how we can make a difference.
Yeah.
And so from that moment, I had a greater amplitude of care for public service. Thinking that if I can do that for someone else in the future, I need to.
Bit of a paradigm shift.
Yes.
Looking at it from the perspective of how can I help my constituents?
Exactly. After being so focused on the corporate stream for 10 plus years, moments like the 2019 attack opened me up to not only public service, but the genesis of the Gilroy Foundation, the genesis of children's books, the genesis of combating food scarcity.
Right.
It's, if I have the resources and the ability to make an impact, I have to do it. It's a duty, obligation. It's my, it's what I have to do.
I love it. So, as a side note, and maybe partly selfish of me, have you ever thought about just teaching at maybe even a college level, just leadership?
You know what? I haven't thought about that, but I'd be open to it.
I'm telling you, you either got to do more podcasts, you got to do more of your own productions, or you got to somehow get in front of young adults, kids, and just talk leadership. It's just, it's incredible sitting here talking to you.
Well, I appreciate that.
We've known of each other forever, probably since you were, a child. And it's just so neat to be able to talk to you and learn more about you.
And then, one other thing that could be a little more sensitive to talk about, especially during these current climes and times. I'm half Hispanic, so my mom's Mexican. And so what I really want is to kind of be an inspiration for like Hispanic kids, showing them that if you work hard enough, you study hard enough, you can be anything you want to be.
Yeah.
That's definitely a part of what I'm looking forward to working towards.
So let me ask you this. We all know ethnicity is important. We all know culture is important. But then there's also the assimilation factor, and how do we take our culture and our heritage, right, as young brown men and women, children, and hold on to that as we launch forward, like you, very much like you've just done over the years at Christopher Ranch, but launch forward in a world that is multicultural, multi-generational even in leadership roles. And how do we marry the two and go forward?
And that's a tough premise because, my grandmother with my mom, Well, my mom's one of 8 siblings, so big family,
Yeah,
lots
yeah.
of cousins
That's
on my end,
that's
which
Hispanic.
I love. Yeah, that's Hispanic. But they were raised throughout the 50s and 60s to only speak English, to Americanize as fast as possible, to assimilate.
Right.
And so,
Our family was similar.
yeah, and so they were raised specifically to be very, very, very American. And so looking at more recent immigrants now, which are holding on to their identities, it's a little conflicting. Like I feel like there's a part of me that I'm missing, that I wish I could understand that more. I don't know how to yet, but I look forward to exploring it.
Yeah. And just going forward as a community, of young kids growing up, if we could somehow help to articulate how do you, in a healthy way, marry the two and embrace the two, because opportunity is out there no matter where you're from, no matter what your lot in life currently is. I'm a firm believer in, you take action and you make things happen, you kind of create your own luck. It's not always the case. That's an oversimplification, and I know that, because there are certain things that can hold people of certain, social status or whatever.
Socioeconomic level,
Yeah, socioeconomic level, and maybe not hold them down, but maybe just hinder them a lot more.
No, and I respect the fact that I've had every privilege in the world. Being a brown kid, I had every privilege, and so I was able to cut through everything.
Yeah.
What I look forward to, though, is continuing to encourage the idea that education can be the silver bullet, that education is what cures everything, and that if we can get kids in our community, no matter what their background, proper education, resources, scholarships, whatever it takes, then that's how you make change.
Yeah.
That's how you make an impact.
I agree with you right there, 100%. Education is key. Again, I don't know how much fun you've had. I've had a blast.
It's been great.
Just sitting with you, talking to you. We have talked about the ranch, the business, the global leader, the community.
All over the board.
The future, potential governor.
Yep.
Anything else? Hobbies, fun things?
I'm the proud father of 2 Siberian Huskies.
All right.
So got 110 and 120 pound dogs, just loves of my life.
That's a lot of Husky.
Yeah, recently moved to Morgan Hill from San Martin, loving it out there, a little more space.
Yeah.
And just in general, learning to reconnect with my love of all things Gilroy.
Yeah, yeah. And as we open up from the shutdowns and the pandemic, hopefully we get that further behind us, how excited are you just to be out and about and around people?
It's been refreshing. I will say it was a bit of a struggle the first few months of the pandemic, like it was for anyone else.
Yeah.
Modifications of the workplace, modifications for social life, modifications everywhere. We were lucky at the ranch to be designated essential employees, and so at least we got to go in for normal work days throughout the week, which broke up the hours, which broke up the days, and got to think about something different other than just the pandemic.
Right.
And funny story about the pandemic, it really changed the way we went to business. In the past, about half of all of our sales were fresh garlic, half were peeled garlic, and that's about 500,000 pounds on each side per week. Pandemic hits. Peeled garlic almost goes to zero because it's restaurants that bought that. And all the restaurants nationwide shut down. But the demand for fresh garlic doubled.
Oh, wow.
And so we were lucky that we were able to survive the pandemic as a company because we were able to reallocate all of our resources and do what we could to cover demand. But it was a struggle and it was hard. But we were lucky to have a business struggle that kept our minds focused and kept us sharp and gave us something to do every day.
I mean, that's a fairly nice stroke of luck or genius or awareness, as half your revenue basically goes away, but then you see the uptick in the other side.
And that's the great part about our company is that we are extremely diversified.
Yeah.
We don't have all of our eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
We make sure to cover a large swath of different, not only garlic products, but bell peppers, shallots, ginger. We try to be the one-stop shop for all of our retailers. So if something goes down, we're going to be prepared, we can survive, and we'll adapt.
I love it. I love it. A couple quick questions.
Yeah.
Favorite food?
Favorite food? Pepper steak sandwich.
There you go.
Hands down.
Can't
Garlic
argue.
Festival style
Yep.
pepper steak sandwich.
Can't argue.
I can have that breakfast, lunch, dinner, rinse, repeat over and over again.
I love it. Worst food experience?
Worst food experience has to be in China. When I was in grad school, we did a study abroad trip, and we got invited to, the governor invited our class out to a big dinner. And we're sitting there, and they start pulling out some different cuisine. And it's a delicacy in China, and God
different
love
cuisine.
them. Like, I'm not here to judge, but when frog, sperm, scorpion, and sea cucumber are on the menu, and you're expected to eat it all, it can be a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
So, yeah, managed to get through that. Wasn't happy, but managed to get through that.
A little sake on the side to wash that down? Or?
Actually, even worse, they have something called Mao Tai, which I believe is 180 proof, which is essentially just, battery acid. And every time that they refill, it's Gombe, 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 Doma, boom. You're expected to have a shot with everyone. Sure. It's a nightmare.
Oh, wow.
So I got pretty sick that night.
Yeah. Wow. That's a pretty bad experience.
Yeah.
Favorite food to make? You mentioned pepper steaks, but
that's my favorite food to eat, my favorite food to make. So I do a really good chicken and sun-dried tomato pasta with my family's pesto.
Oh.
And then you mix in some roasted garlic into that, and
Yes.
you just have a perfect, nice and light.
Yes, I could taste it.
Yeah.
I could taste it. Nice. Ken, thank you.
Oh, it's been a
It's a
privilege.
pleasure, man.
Yeah.
I hope you had as much fun as I have.
Oh, it was great.
It's been great. So thank you. Thank you to your crew. Thank you to my crew. We're, by the way, behind our camera, we have Nils Myers from 152 Productions, 152 West Productions. And he is a master at filming and making us all look good. Of course, Ken doesn't need that much help. I, on the other hand, need a little bit. But we just want to say thank you once again. We're at the Neon Exchange, and you're listening and watching the gmhTODAY podcast. Our guest today has been Ken Christopher, Executive Vice President of the global leader, Christopher Ranch Garlic, right here in Gilroy. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you soon.